You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the weekly Keep Canada Weird discussion series. If you're new here, I'm Jordan Bonaparte, and in Keep Canada Weird, my pal Aaron Airport and I seek out and explore the more offbeat news stories that played out across Canada over the past week. In tonight's episode, which we recorded on April 2nd of 2024, we catch up on the case of the Quebec high school art teacher who was secretly selling his students' work online. We're going to hear about some cloned cats in Kelowna, BC. We'll dive into dumpsters in Saskatchewan, and we're going to bob our heads to the Premier of Nova Scotia as he quotes rapper Eminem in a speech he delivered at the legislature. So we got a busy night here. Let's get into it. Handsome Aaron Airport, we are back.
We are back, and how exciting it is to be back.
Yeah, I believe that was the first week we've ever missed. Last week we did not release an episode.
No, that was the first week where we released nothing at all.
And I blame Keep Canada Weird for that because I was on assignment. I traveled down to the US.
You did, yeah. And you were boots on the ground in the United States of America, seeking out weird Canadian stories.
Yeah, and I found them. I'll right off the bat, I want to tell you something here. We've been bashing Tim Hortons for the last, I don't know how long we've been doing this, 2.5 years. And I've been bashing them for years before we ever started this show. But there was a moment when I was in the United States where I thought like, damn, I wish there was like a Tim's I could go to. Because I've been going to...
No, you didn't.
I swear I did. I've been going to a place called Dunkin's, which is, I've always...
Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, well, we call it Dunkin' Donuts, but down there, everyone calls it Dunkin's.
Okay.
Honestly, it's Tim Hortons on meth. I've had like 15 weird experiences in my 1 week in the US, all at Dunkin's. Every time I go in there, it was weird and they screwed up my order. And it was like Tim's, but worse. It felt dirtier and weirder and everything was like their baked goods were stale. I hate Dunkin's.
Yeah, well, that doesn't really have anything to do with the quality of Tim Hortons, though. Like that's just it's a bad coffee shop in a different country.
Yeah,
What does that have to do with how does that reflect the quality of Tim Hortons?
I don't know if it reflects the quality of Tim Hortons, but it does reflect my perception of the Tim's invasion, or as we've called it on this show now, the Tim's issue.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, the Tim's issue.
I think if you're living somewhere down in the US where the only coffee shop in town is a Dunkin's, I don't know, the Tim Hortons invasion may be a welcome sight.
No. Please stop.
Okay, I take it back.
I can't handle this.
Well, that was my one takeaway from my time in the US. Another cool takeaway or a cool experience that I had down there was to see that Party City, the party store, sells liquor in Florida, and I thought that was really appropriate.
Well, you can't party without alcohol.
Exactly. That's what I thought, and I went in there and I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, because our party stores, there's some costumes, there's paper plates, there's cups, there's streamers, there's just kind of the usual things, but there's no alcohol at all.
You need to get the party started first before that stuff works.
Yeah.
Florida figured that out. Florida's a weird place. The idea of Google Florida man and just find, all these crazy stories. I see why. I saw some craziness down there. There's this weird beat up kind of trailer looking thing with a bunch of broken up cars in its yard. And they had this massive sign made up of wood pallets. So imagine like 2 wood pallets high, 2 wood pallets wide with spray paint on it. It said something like F word Biden, the pedo puppet. And then underneath it, it had in spray paint the URL for a YouTube video, which isn't friendly to write. So it's like youtube.com/RZYKK493 and just spray paint it as you drive by. I saw a lot of, the whole like Trump Biden stuff. Man, that was everywhere.
Yeah, well, we're heading into an election in November in America, and it's a big heated topic right now. So yeah, you were in the thick of it. You were in the hornet's nest of American politics.
Yeah, the weather down there is great though. But for listeners in the United States. With the election coming, I wonder if we should be offering any kind of safe passage or sanctuary here in Canada, because I think there's probably a lot of people down there that in the lead up to November are going to want to get out of town for a month or two.
Well, a friend of mine had, when Trump was running the first time, back in 2016, he had started the website to encourage Americans, if Trump wins,
To move to Cape Breton.
to move to Cape Breton.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, yeah. And there was people that actually moved here because of it.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what a time. But we're not here to talk about America. We're here to keep Canada weird. And my golly, we are going to be doing it tonight. We got some great stories. We're going to hear about dumpster diving. We got to talk about a cat because there was one in the news this week. We got to talk about Canadian politics, at least Nova Scotian politics. And we got to update some old stories that we covered in the past. But before we get into any of that, you want to hear from a listener?
Oh, God, yes. Just, you're craving Tim Hortons for some twisted reason, but I'm craving the listeners.
Yeah. Ever since I've been offering Keep Canada Weird stickers and merch in exchange for voice memos, man, they've been lighting us up. Let's hear from Jenny. Since we've been talking about Tim Hortons, Jenny has a Tim Hortons related story to tell us.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. This voicemail is about the Tim Hortons issue, as you are now calling it. I was in Toronto about 2 weeks ago, walking around in the Queen East area, and I noticed at the corner of Bolton Avenue and Queen, there's a Tim Hortons, but they are branding themselves as Tim's. And I know this is something that you have mentioned in the past, that Tim Hortons are now just shortening their name to simply Tim's. And I found it interesting because this neighborhood is a very, local small businesses type neighborhood. So I think that this is a strategy by Tim Hortons to have a presence in this neighborhood that may not normally accept them, but branding themselves as something different or something separate than what they truly are. They're not Tim Hortons, the massive corporate entity with mediocre products. They're Tim's. They're a cool local coffee shop. Anyway, thought I'd share. Thanks.
I think Jenny is bang on. I think that's exactly what they're doing. It's like they want their name to just be this friendly pat on the back. People call them it's almost like a nickname.
Their products have moved so far away from what they used to be, and now they're moving further away from the name that they used to be.
I think
now they're just Tim's, and you know what this is? It's just it's laziness in terms of Canadians are too lazy to say Tim Hortons. They just want to say Tim's because they're useless and lazy. That's the way they see us.
Maybe. We've used a lot of military words to describe Tim Hortons' strategy. I think this is maybe a type of psychological retail marketing warfare. Making you refer to them by a nickname will give others the impression that you have an affinity towards the company. So I think rebranding as Tim's may trick some people, and it'll probably work. I don't know. People will fall for anything, I think. I think Tim Hortons hardcores aren't going to go away. Interesting to see how they shimmy and shake their way into your wallet. And that's their latest trick. Pricks.
Yeah, what a trick it is.
Let's get into the first story, though, because I like when we, at the beginning of the show, cover updates to past stories. One of my favorite recent stories was the story relating to the Quebec high school whose students found that their art teacher was selling their art online in the form of merchandise. Like the teacher was alleged to be taking students' artwork and putting it on mugs and shirts and mouse pads and all that kind of stuff and selling it. At the time that we covered this, it was probably a month or two back, the parents had found out about it and they were upset, and the school board really had very little to say about it at that time. Things have developed quite a bit. The parents have filed a lawsuit, and it is a big one. Over $1.5 million for alleged intellectual property infringement.
It was surprise, it was shock.
Parent Joel Belfeuille recalls the feeling of seeing his 13-year-old son's portrait being sold online on mugs, pillows, and shirts. How do you feel when you see your portrait on a shower curtain?
Weird, and I was like really shocked about it.
The de Bellefeuille family and 9 others have filed a complaint under the Copyright Act for over $1.5 million, or $155,000 per plaintiff, from teacher Mario Perron and the Lester B. Pearson School Board for alleged intellectual property infringement. They're also asking for an apology.
In Canada, a Copyright Act is very clear, the law, and it states the person that's infringed upon can request statutory damages between $500 to $20,000 per artwork. So what makes this extremely unique, it's not only one artwork, it is almost 3,000 different items.
He says most of the 96 students had their artwork featured on 31 different items like phone cases and ornaments. Prices range from a few dollars to more than $100 each. When the news broke in February, it made international headlines. Wanting to protect their children from the fallout, this parent spoke to CTV anonymously to say, as an artist, Mario Perron knew better.
My daughter was taken advantage of, and she feels that way as well. And also because I am an artist as well, and I hope, as the teacher being an artist, if someone was to do that to him, I'm sure he would do the same thing that we're doing right now.
Documents have been filed with the Quebec court. De Bellefeuille's brother, lawyer Martin de Bellefeuille, is representing the families. De Bellefeuille says now that the legal documents are submitted, the school board has 15 days to reply.
Parents always trying to monitor their children's behavior online, but here we are where we now have to also monitor what the teachers are doing online.
So each family suing for $155,000, suing the teacher himself and the school board. Let's just choose sides here. I'm going to say right off the bat, I agree with this, and I think they deserve it. And I think they're going to get, I don't know if they're going to get $155,000 each, but I think they're going to get some money. I think the school board's going to want this to go away, as will the teachers union, when there certainly is one that's going to be involved.
And I'm taking the other side on this issue, and I am completely disagreeing with this lawsuit.
Because you're an artist. You put on plays, you're a musician, you write music. So I thought you would have more respect for the victims of intellectual property theft. What is it you disagree with?
I first want to tip my hat to the stock footage of the school in this story, where it's just a guy shoveling like 3 months ago.
He's watching the news. He's like, what did I do?
Yeah, I'm in the news shoveling. I think this is I think it's a cash grab from the parents, encouraged by the lawyers, because this was a very publicized case. So you have lawyers that are basically like reaching out to the parents saying like, this is what you could potentially get by moving forward with a lawsuit, because the copyright law in Canada states this, and that. But how much money was actually generated?
I'd be curious to know if he sold any. And I think if this gets into a courtroom, if it gets that far, certainly that's going to be the question of what did he make or could he have made, and what damages do they actually suffer? There's like a privacy breach, of course, I guess, like in some aspect.
And don't get me wrong, like I think the teacher was wrong in what they did, but I think this lawsuit is a total cash grab by the parents and the lawyers. And it seems like they were really trying to fish for more trauma from
like how did you
students
feel?
They were talking to. How did that make you feel? I don't know. Made me feel weird, I guess.
My mom
I don't
freaked.
know.
Yeah. I'm thinking when I was in high school, my answer to every question would be like, just like them, like, I don't know. I laughed for a second. And when I saw my picture on the news, I thought it was awesome, but
I know. But then a lawyer called and my mom got really happy. Yeah. And being the age that they are, how much of this, so if say they win the full amount, the 1.5 million split between 10 families, how much of it goes to the kids?
Well, I would hope if they do win it, that money sees to it that none of those kids have to pay any kind of college tuition or university tuition. Like use it for something like that would be appropriate.
But where's the money going to come from? Like, again,
Well,
it's not like we're sitting on top of, millions of dollars in revenue from these from these images.
Well, they're suing.
We're probably talking about a couple $100
Yeah.
in all reality.
I believe, if that, I think that's being.
If that, yeah, exactly.
I think the money will come from if a lawsuit, if something is settled, which I think it won't get to court. I think it'll be settled beforehand. I think it'll probably be a mix of the school board and the teachers union paying it. Because I think if a teacher makes mistakes, like does something wrong, they have like a union that represents them and some kind of insurance and stuff. I would think those people would all get involved and offer a settlement that's like a third of what they're asking for.
And the lawyers know that. The families, they know exactly who they're going after here, who's going to be actually paying
Who's got
out,
the deepest pockets.
Who's got the deepest pockets. This to me is just like the worst response to this. Like, and again, this is junior high art here. Let's call a spade a spade. I don't mean to say it out loud, but it's stupid. Like their art is dumb and the lawsuit is dumb.
Do you even like the kids? I know we've heard a couple of short interviews with them. Do you have any respect for these kids?
No.
Okay. Let's move on. We will follow this story.
Let's clarify for the record that I am joking about that.
You do like the kids?
I haven't met them.
Yeah, they seem, you're going to give them a benefit of a doubt.
Sure, yeah, but their art sucks.
Let's get to the next story. Do you want to go with cats or garbage?
Let's go garbage.
All right, I like this. This is cool because for whatever reason, we talk about thrifting on the show a lot. I guess it's because maybe that's one of my passions.
We're both thrifters.
Yeah,
I like Value Village just as much as you do.
I like a good deal. Again, where I went to the U.S. last week, let me say, their equivalent is this place called Goodwill, and it sucks. I went to like 6 of them, maybe during my time traveling around Florida, and it was nothing compared to Value Village. But anyway, I will stoop low. I will go down to the U.S. to thrift. What I haven't yet done as an adult is go in the back of a business to find their dumpster and root around to see if anything good's in there. But there are people in Saskatoon who are making a name for themselves by dumpster diving and sharing the treasures they find online. Listen to this story.
Jumping into dumpsters is a nighttime pursuit in an attempt to be more inconspicuous. It's become somewhat of an obsession for these sisters.
And then at night, we're out, rescuing food items and repurposing.
They're known as dumpster divers, and Saskatoon has a few Facebook groups dedicated to sharing the information. Chelsea LeMay also posts the finds on her TikTok page, highlighting the things they call rescues.
So we grew up really poor, and so we want to help people not have to struggle like we did.
We either make individual hampers or we have an organization such as Never Hungry Saskatoon or Community Hearts come do a pickup and then they distribute.
They have successful day jobs and realize that some who do this don't. And while they sell some of their items, it's mostly about giving back.
It is such an amazing feeling to be able to take stuff and support our community in that way. I mean, it would be better if the stores were doing it on their own.
A public policy expert at the U of S says companies throw out the product for a number of reasons, like liability and impact to their bottom line.
So the logistics and the costs associated with donating products, including transportation, storage, and administrative expenses, and also training employees.
So, of course, there are questions that come up about the legalities of jumping into dumpsters, but this pair has already considered that.
As long as A, you're not trespassing, and you're not vandalizing or creating a mess.
Saskatoon police said that their concern would be with trespassing or littering by removing garbage and not returning it. Even so, it would not be considered criminal and would fall under provincial or local legislation.
Wi-Fi outlets?
They do admit they encounter messy situations. On this night, electronics covered in a rank liquid, making this not for the faint of heart.
let's start with this. Aaron, if you were going to jump in the dumpster of a business looking for decent crap that they threw away, what business would you choose?
I've never thought of that before.
I'm leaning towards an electronics store, like just in
Are
that
they throwing a lot of are electronic stores though?
I bet you they
Like
throw
say
away.
Best Buy or
Bet you they throw away so much stuff, damaged packages and stuff.
really?
Yeah, I bet you they have a bunch of it back there,
I'm surprised, but
and just cords
I'm
and stuff. Like there'd be a lot of stuff in those.
sure. An electronic store is probably where I will go to, but I'm surprised that they don't consider this trespassing.
Yeah, well, it is the legality of it is kind of interesting to think about. And is a theft if there's stuff in there of value? I guess not because it's garbage. And is it trespassing because really you're just going to the parking lot where the dumpster is and opening it up and jumping in? Yeah, I don't know, but I think even if the business, why would they even go as far as to call the cops if you're just taking stuff out of their garbage? I think the worst going to happen
Yeah.
likely is the manager or like the back shift people going to, hey, get out of there.
Get away from my cords.
Where I went down a bit of a rabbit hole in researching this story, and there's actually like a genre of content creators on YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff that just do this. They just do dumpster diving and film their exploits. And they find a lot of stuff that was, I watched a couple videos where they were going into like the dumpsters behind like a furniture store, and they were finding like really nice like furniture that just had a few scratches or whatever on it. And but he had a van that he was working out of, and he was just filling his van with, a rug, a chair. And then he'd go to another store and he's like, here's a box of individual bags of chips that are still good and, expire in 5 days. I think I don't think I would want to do it, but I do understand why someone would. And I bet you it would be a lot of fun. Although I get grossed out easy. So if it was a business that also dealt with food, I would want nothing to
But
do
how
with
do you
it.
go to your high school reunion if you do this? Like, and everyone gets
Yeah.
it's your 20-year high school reunion. Everyone's in the gymnasium, everyone's dressed up, everyone's reconnecting. And oh well, I'm a lawyer now. Oh wow, that's great. Yeah, I always could see you being a lawyer. And oh, I'm a dentist. Like, oh, cool. Yeah, I know. You always had really nice teeth. And it's like, well, what do you do now, Steve? And it's like, oh, I'm a dumpster diver.
Didn't you see me on
Yeah,
the news?
I go into dumpsters and I get covered in ooze.
Or as they put it in that news clip, rank liquid. I thought that was like rank was slang for like disgusting.
But I mean, if you've got a hazmat suit on, some goggles, some gloves, I mean, you'll be all right. Just keep your mouth closed.
Yeah. If anyone listening has ever dumpster dove, I'd like to hear about it. I think I told the story on the show before, but it just bears repeating because contextually it's okay. When I was a kid, we lived near a Tim Hortons, and myself and the neighborhood kids knew that when they closed up shop, they would put all the baked goods in a garbage bag and throw it in the dumpster. And yes, we did open the dumpster and take a big bag of donuts out one time. A bunch of times.
Man, you've got such a history with Tim Hortons. You're there every day.
Yeah.
You dumpster dive in Tim Hortons dumpsters.
This is when I was a little kid.
I don't know, man.
It's
I'd
amazing.
be pretty easily convinced that you still do this.
I remember we had behind the Tim Hortons, for people listening from Sydney, I'm talking about the Tim Hortons on Welton Street on what I call Hamburger Hill, because there's a bunch of burger shops. We took a big bag of baked goods and we had a muffin fight in the parking lot at like 2 in the morning. But these people in Saskatoon, they seem to be a bit more classy than we were.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about that. At least you were frolicking in the muffins, where they're in rank liquid. I don't know.
I want to get on to the next story because this is an interesting one. Whenever a deal we've had on the show from the beginning, when you and I agreed to do this, we shook hands on an agreement that if cats are in the news in Canada, we will highlight it on the Keep Canada Weird podcast. During our last episode, we talked about a major reward for the missing cat in Toronto, and we talked about, is that a lot of money? What's the deal with that? We have another story relating to cats and relating to a lot of money. This is not about a missing cat, though. This is about a cloned cat. When Chris Stewart's beloved 10-year-old ragdoll cat Bear was killed by a car, she wasn't ready to live her life without him. To extend her time with her best friend, she turned to an American company called Viagen, who offer cloning services for cats and dogs. $50,000 later, Chris has her bear back. Sort of. Listen to this.
Chris Stewart has her hands full with two very rambunctious 10-week-old kittens.
They're very aggressive, sassy, bold kittens, and that's exactly what Bear was like.
Bear was Stewart's beloved ragdoll cat. He was hit by a car and killed 2 years ago.
I knew that I wanted to clone him because I tried cloning one of my dogs about 3 or 4 years prior to that. And so I still had the instructions for how to send the cell samples down to Viagen in Texas.
Viagen is a U.S. company that clones cats and dogs.
We'll take one of Buddy's cells and replace the nucleus of a female dog's egg. After treatment by our patented process, the egg and cell join together and the embryo starts to grow.
The embryos are then transferred to a surrogate mother,
who, after a typical gestation, will give birth to Buddy 2.
I went through 4 unsuccessful embryo transfers before the 5th one was successful.
Last week, Stewart flew to New York, where Viagen presented her with 2 identical kittens created at its breeding facility, who are both genetic clones of Bear.
And personality-wise, I'd have to say they are both at this point identical to Bear. They make some very brazen decisions. They have a bit of a swagger, just like Bear did.
While the decision to clone Bear was primarily an emotional one,
I'm a bit of a science geek, and so this interests me from a science perspective too, the fact that this can actually be done.
The Kelowna business owner is telling her story so other pet owners know this option exists, but it's not cheap. The cost to create the kittens, she's named Bear Bear and Honey Bear, around $50,000 Canadian.
Was it worth it? Absolutely worth it. Absolutely. I'm so relieved the waiting is over with. I'm so relieved to have 2 little gaffers that look just like Bear. So I'm pretty happy with the end result.
Whoa. Should we reference Pet Sematary?
Well, I was going to reference Jurassic Park.
Okay.
If you don't mind me reading a quote from Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
Yes, please.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
Ooh, appropriate. Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's what a freaky story. And first time listening to that and reading about this, I missed the fact that she tried to do it with her dog before.
Yeah, and she talks so cavalier about it as if she's at a book club sitting on her couch and being like, yeah, anyway, I tried to clone my dog 4 years ago and it just didn't work out. So, but obviously when my cat was destroyed by a car, I thought, oh, I'll make 2 robo cats.
Yeah, death won't get in the way of death won't stop me.
Yeah, I've been playing God for about 6 years now.
I've never heard of this company. I've never heard of cloning cats or dogs.
Oh, no.
The company's ad even is really creepy. Like it was like this weird voice narrating their ad.
It sounded exactly like in the original Jurassic Park when they go on the tour and they're in like the part where they're sitting in like, it's almost like a museum ride. Mm-hmm. And they have the video up explaining the process of how they clone the dinosaurs. It's a lot. It's very similar to that.
Yeah, I just feel like something will go wrong with this. It doesn't seem right to be cloning cats. Or dogs, but I would also, if I was the consumer, if I was going to do something like this, I would want proof that they didn't just send me like 2 random ragdoll cats, like the same breed of cat. Like how
because you're totally playing on the person's emotional state, or it's like, okay, here's your cats, and then they're so they're so kind of heartbroken at the loss of their pet that they're willing to see anything in these new animals and convince themselves that I've recreated my dead pet.
That's kind of weird and
It doesn't bring
sad.
them back though. Like these are cloned versions of them. It's like
When in the cat or pet that you love or the other human being that you love, is it their like physical makeup, like their DNA makeup that you love, or is it the experiences and the memories and the moments you have together? Like I just feel like, just like in the movie Pet Sematary, if when you bring back a loved one's body, but it's not their mind anymore, it's like it's a different thing, and it's a little. I would be freaked out by this. I wouldn't be comfortable having these like weird cloned cats in my
no, I
home.
wouldn't trust them at all. Their fur would start to fall off. You'd be waking up in the middle of the night and they'll be staring at you.
Well,
Like,
cats do that, right?
well, yeah,
Cats
but
are
these
weird
ones would be
anyway.
doing it in a way that's like, I'm a clone and I'm going to kill you. And she's just so weird about it. She's just like, oh yeah, I just get them cloned, and you know, it's totally normal. It's just a
It's
totally normal thing to do.
the fact that this option exists, I think, is pretty weird. Science, I think we've gone too far. Like the internet and social media, like probably ruined the world. AI is just going to put everyone out of business. Now, like cloning cats and stuff, it's even like playing with death.
Yeah, you're playing God. It's like it's a really slippery slope to get into.
I feel like we just need to unplug everything, start over.
Yeah, yeah. I prefer to clone my cats from the garden the way nature intended, you know?
Well, that's what happened in Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on. I think what's happening in Kelowna with these cats is weird. But the ragdoll cats, that breed, I don't think I've ever seen them before. Those things are adorable. Those little kittens, cloned or not, those were cute little guys.
They were cute. Yeah. I hope she enjoys them.
Well, she can.
Well, she can, yeah.
Let's end with a bang. We got a couple things here. First of all, let's go through a duo of voice memos. Remember last week, or the last time we recorded, I called out for listeners listening abroad to share with us why they listen to the Keep Canada Weird podcast. I did get some action on that. So let's play a couple of them here. Let's start with Kristen on why, as an American, she listens to Keep Canada Weird.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron. This is Kirsten from Alabama. I just got finished listening to your episode of Keep Canada Weird, the most recent one, and you had called out for people from the U.S. to call and tell why we listen to your podcast. And so the reason I got started listening to Nighttime is because you did an episode with the Morbid podcast, which is one of my favorites. And that was the episodes that you did about Lindsay Savannah. And once I listened to you with Morbid, I went back and listened to all your episodes about Lindsay Savannah, which those are super interesting and crazy. And then after that, I just kind of started listening to all the different things that you have, Keep Canada Weird, and everything you do with Madeline Klein. I love listening to your podcast. I love learning things about Canada. And I love realizing that Canada is just as crazy as the US, and y'all really make me laugh. And yeah, I just enjoy listening to you. So I hope y'all have a great day and keep doing what you're doing.
Kirsten has a great accent.
I love that accent. Yeah. I like that she likes learning about Canada.
Yeah. Weird, eh?
Not really. It's geography can be interesting.
Is it even geography though? I think this is more like what we do is more culture.
No, we don't do any. We are probably the worst people to answer any geography questions.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And we don't put an emphasis on geography or the makeup of Canada. I think we focus on the culture. I believe. And I also think she says, like, I realize Canada's just as screwed up, or Canada's just as screwed up as we are, sort of thing. She said something along those lines. But I think
Yeah.
it's true. Like, all around the world, the whole thing is screwed up, but in its own unique way. And I think Canada has its own flavor of weird versus the American side. And I was at a
Hmm.
flea market in Florida, and I'll tell you, the weird in Florida is definitely different than the weird in Canada.
Yeah, whereas the United States, they have certain weird things, but our weird culture, I like to focus it on like cat cloning, and that's it.
Stolen artwork. No, just
And
cats?
just cat cloning.
Okay. Let's hear one more reason why an international listener listens. Last time we heard why Kirsten listens. Now we're going to hear why Aaron from Alabama listens. We're getting the Southern
Mm,
Americans telling us.
nice name too.
Here we go.
Hey, Jordan. Hey, Aaron. This is Aaron from Alabama in the southern United States. You guys asked for people abroad to call and let you know why we listen to Keep Canada Weird. And I just have 3 reasons. 1, the handsome Aaron Airport. Number 2, the highly educated Jordan Bonaparte. And number 3, free stickers. Thanks, guys. I do have a little game that you might enjoy. So, you know how friends have little inside jokes, and my friend and I have this little phrase that anytime we say it, we know exactly what scenario we're talking about. And I just thought I would give you guys that phrase and see if you can figure out what the scenario is. So, kind of a choose your own adventure situation here. So, what is the scenario that led up to me saying the following words? And when I say saying the following words, I was shouting them. Your Peter is in the urinal. Thanks, guys.
Hmm.
Your
Okay.
Peter is in the urinal.
So I think the second half of that phrase is there's not much debate. A urinal is a urinal. There can't be multiple meetings, but your Peter is in the urinal. So I feel like the obvious answer would be the Peter being like slang for someone's private part, and maybe they had their private part in the
Well, where were
urinal.
they asking, where's my Peter? Well, your Peter's in the urinal.
You're standing there peeing. That wouldn't
Yeah,
make
but that
sense.
means she's in the men's bathroom,
Fielding questions. Yeah,
locating people's Peters.
that doesn't make sense. What else could
I
a
think
Peter be?
maybe a Halloween party.
Okay.
And her and her friend were dressed up as Chippendale male strippers.
Okay.
And so they used, basically they used, some kind of a prosthetic enhancement between their legs.
Okay.
And they decided, oh, we're dressed up as these male stripper characters. Why don't we go use the men's washroom?
Mhm.
And so they're standing at the urinals and they're chatting and whatever, and they're attempting to pretend to use the bathroom. And when they go, one of them's like, "Oh my God, my Peter is missing, my prosthetic Peter." And then her friend says, "Oh, your Peter is in the urinal."
And they look back and it is just
It
sitting there.
is covered in pee.
That's Aaron, you surprise me. Like that completely could be it. I feel like I can't even think of any other reason other than that. The urinal part, I think there's no debate. Something is in a urinal. The question is what the Peter is and how it ends up in the urinal. Why she and her friend are near the urinal. I think you got it.
Yeah.
Chippendale Halloween costume, prosthetic penis gone wrong.
Yeah, I think I'm in the ballpark.
Aaron, I will send you stickers, but I will send you 2 stickers, one for each voicemail. This one and the one where you call back and tell us what the hell that means and if handsome Aaron Airport is correct.
Yeah.
What a fun game.
Oh, yeah, fun.
We're going to end with another fun game, and that's going to be the game of who said it better, the Premier of Nova Scotia, Tim Houston, or the rapper Marshall Eminem Mathers, Slim Shady. You know Eminem, right?
No.
Okay. Well, he's a famous rapper, and I know you know who he is. And you
Of course
certainly
I do.
know one of his biggest songs has to be Lose Yourself, which is from the movie, I think loosely based on his life, 8 Mile. Lose Yourself is like kind of like the hit song or whatever from
Yeah.
that movie. On March 18th, at the Nova Scotia Legislative Assembly meeting, our Premier, Tim Houston, used the lyrics of the song Lose Yourself by Eminem in a sort of speech. He's describing his leadership style. Actually, what he's talking about is his efforts to tackle the medical crisis, the shortage of family doctors, and just the medical situation we have in Nova Scotia that's so dire. He's describing his leadership style and the risks he's willing to take to make things right for Nova Scotians when he seems to maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally, and if unintentionally, huge coincidence, he borrows quite a few lyrics from the song Lose Yourself by Eminem. I'm going to play you his speech first, and then I'm going to play you a version I made where I put the actual song Lose Yourself over top of it. So here's the original speech. Here it comes.
In fact, in thinking about these issues, I often say to the team, I say to them, I say, look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or would you let it slip by? And I know the answer in terms of the member opposite, because the member opposite let the opportunity slip by. The member opposite was Minister of Health and didn't take the actions that we're taking.
So I don't know how well you know that song, but did you catch it?
Oh yeah, I catch it. Yeah, it's almost word for word.
Yeah. Listen to how word for word it is. What I did was I made a video on and put it up on my TikTok where I had his speech playing and the beginning of the Eminem song, or a version of the song Lose Yourself, playing. And it's almost like he's using the exact words, but
Yep.
also he's using the same like delivery and pace. So listen to this. This is kind of wild when you play them over top of each other.
I often say to the team, I say, look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it
in one moment,
or would you let it slip by?
would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak.
It's because of copyright. I didn't use the actual Eminem song, but that one was like the same. That was a cover, but like the same flow. But is that an accident, or did he intentionally invoke the words of Eminem to describe his leadership style when approaching a health crisis here in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, he quoted Eminem to do it. It's what 99%, like that's how much of it is in there. I really wanted him to keep going though, and like
and just start
his
singing.
palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, just vomit on his sweater already.
Mom spaghetti.
Well, especially when you're talking about healthcare and people are vomiting. You know, he's nervous, but on the surface, he looks calm and ready to drop health bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what the conservatives wrote down. But then the opposition crowd,
the member opposite. Yeah. Oh man, that's a bizarre situation, but I don't know if it's inappropriate or not. If there's any need to.
I think it's an inspiring song.
Yeah.
And he was looking to inspire his staff, and I think that's an appropriate song to use.
Yeah, I guess why not? And it's also like where he used it at a legislative assembly meeting during a speech. It's just a weird spot to hear Eminem. And when I found like that actual clip, that's 3 hours into an 8-hour long meeting. So just a weird spot to hear your premier invoke the lyrics of the controversial Slim Shady.
Yeah,
Our
well, it's cool
premier
that he
is
slipped it in, but like, it reminds me of Roger Cuzner when he was a federal politician. He used to quote like Dr. Seuss, and he used to write poems and things like that. And
Really?
he would be doing similar things like that.
I guess if you're going to have that job, like writing speeches and delivering speeches, why not have a little bit of fun? And I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Houston listens to Eminem or listened to Eminem.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
a shady guy.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
why
exactly.
when I made that video, I used the real Tim Shady, because he is a shady guy. So
yeah, he's on the shady side.
not to say, we don't get into politics often here, but if any kind of Canadian political leader is going to borrow the words of a rap song into a speech, just like when cats are in the news, we're going to talk about it. I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's about time that we start wrapping this up. I think we did our work here.
Yeah,
Did
no, I
did
think we
miss
kept
anything?
a good portion of the country has been kept weird.
Mhm.
And I think we're ready to hang up the towel for the night.
We got into cats. We heard about the stolen art update. Let's put a bow on this thing. Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan, until next time.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall for the teacher bringing those pictures home and scanning them. I keep thinking about this moment of him standing at the scanner, scanning one photo after another and uploading it to this stupid website.
And Jordan, until next time, after you die, I am going to clone you.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you promise that when I die, you clone me.
And we keep this show going forever.
Keep Canada cloned, baby.
Wow, that's kind of an interesting idea. Okay,
All
we'll
right.
do it. Promise. Pinky swear?
Pinky.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. But let us also call out to you for even greater support in this. If something weird happens in your neck of the woods, or if you have any thoughts, theories, or opinions on any of the stories we discussed, we want to hear about it. The best way to reach us is using the voice memo app, which is at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. We hope to hear from you. Now, before we part here, I'm going to end with some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A shout out to the internet's favorite cult leader, Unicole, who provides the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thanks goes out to each and every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers of the premium feed. Frosty, Shelby, and Jordan, thank you for going premium. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of the show. But the premium feed also gives you the episodes 2 days early, gives them to you ad-free, and gives you access to a full back catalog of nighttime episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium right now at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know why they should listen. Your support in growing this is very much appreciated. And until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Something we talk about a lot is American and international listeners trying Canadian treats. We sent some chocolate bars and bags of chips and stuff out maybe a month or so ago. We haven't received any reviews yet, but they're coming. But we did receive just this week an unsolicited review of a Canadian treat. A listener named, I think it's Lee, he's trying a coffee crisp bar and he took us along for the ride. Listen to this.
All right.
This is a good one. Trigger warning for people who are grossed out by the sound of someone chewing and eating, though.
ASMR, is that what this is?
Sure, here it comes.
Hello, Jordan and Aaron. This is Lee from Virginia. Our local Wegmans, I just noticed, had a Canadian product you've talked about, the Coffee Crisp candy bar. So I figured I would try one and let you know what. I've never seen them before, so we'll let you know. I know Aaron can edit part of this out, so hopefully you don't hear me chewing, but let's see. The coffee flavor is fairly subtle. I'm almost not catching it. If it wasn't in the name, I don't know that I would catch it. The wafer inside reminds me of a childhood cookie called sugar wafers. It essentially had a sugar cream or buttercream type filling. So I mean, it's good. I think it's very good. It's the chocolate and sweet isn't as overwhelming as something like a Kit Kat, and it's got more crunch than a Kit Kat. So I'll have to give Canada props. So until next time, keep Canada weird. Thank you very much. All you do.
That was a thorough review.
Until next time, listen to me chew.
Yeah, I considered editing it out. I was like, no. In fact, I'm probably gonna amplify the sound of the chewing.
It really adds to the atmosphere of the entire experience.
Yeah,
listening to him.
It's theater.
Sample the coffee crisp.
It's theater of the mind. We're sitting at a table with our ear right up to Lee's mouth as he crunches on a coffee crisp, kind of unamused.
Yeah, the coffee crisp. The coffee crisp is a taste delight, and the review is an audio delight.
One of my favorite bars is a coffee crisp, and he's got a
Me
good
too.
point. Is the coffee flavor is subtle, but I think that's intentional because the appeal of a coffee crisp bar is so broad, much broader than the appeal of coffee. If I give my kids a coffee crisp bar, they're going to fight over it. If I give both my kids a cup of coffee, they're going to be like, "What are you doing, Dad? We're just kids."
Yeah. No, the coffee crisp is one of my favorite bars, and I'm surprised that he came across one.